When Atlanta's elite planned their exclusive 15-year reunion, they made one critical mistake. They forgot that the quiet black woman they once ignored had married tech mogul Marcus Washington. Now she owns their dream venue, and revenge is about to be served ice cold. Before we dive into this incredible story of justice and power, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Trust me, you won't want to miss stories like this. Now let me tell you about a woman who turned rejection into the sweetest revenge. Picture this. An upscale restaurant in Buckhead, Atlanta, where the brunch costs more than most people's grocery budget. The kind of place where conversations happen in hushed tones and everyone's checking out everyone else's designer handbags. This is where our story begins, with 5 women in their early 30s, all perfectly put together, all trying to recapture something they think they lost 15 years ago. Brittany Cole sits at the head of their little table like she's still running for homecoming queen, even now, a decade and a half later. She's the one calling the shots. Her honey blonde highlights are fresh, her nails are perfect, and she's got that same commanding presence that made her the center of attention back at Westside Preparatory Academy. She's flipping through her iPad, scrolling past venue after venue with the kind of casual dismissal that only comes from having too many options. "Ladies, this reunion has to be perfect," she says, not even looking up from her screen. "We're talking about the event of the year. Our 15-year reunion needs to be something people will remember forever." The way she says "our" makes it clear that not everyone from their graduating class is included in this vision. Her friends nod along like they always have. There's Shanice, who married a prominent cardiologist and never lets anyone forget it. There's Jasmine, who's been riding the wave of her husband's construction empire for the past 10 years. And there's Tiara and Diamond, both of whom seem to exist mainly to agree with whatever Brittany says. "I've been looking at venues all week," Brittany continues, finally setting down her tablet. "But there's only one place that would really make this special. That incredible estate at Lake Lanier, the one with the lakefront views and the infinity pool. You know the one I'm talking about." The women exchange glances, and I can practically see the dollar signs in their eyes. They all know the property she means. It's been featured in Essence magazine, used for celebrity events, the kind of place that screams success and exclusivity. Exactly what they want for their reunion. "Isn't that place crazy expensive?" Shanice asks, though she's already pulling out her phone to look at photos. "Money's not the issue," Brittany waves her hand dismissively. "We're not exactly struggling college students anymore. This is about making a statement, about showing everyone how far we've come." But here's the thing about Brittany and her friends. They haven't actually come that far at all. They've just gotten better at hiding the same petty insecurities and need for validation that drove them at Westside Prep. They still measure their worth by who they can exclude and who they can impress. Now, while these women are planning their perfect reunion, let me tell you about someone who isn't on their radar at all. Someone who never was, really. Her name is Keisha Thompson, and 15 years ago, she was the girl who sat in the front row of every class, who knew all the answers but rarely got called on, who ate lunch alone more often than not. Keisha was different from the Brittany crowd in every way that mattered to them. She was there on a full academic scholarship while they drove cars that cost more than most people's annual salary. She wore the same few outfits rotated throughout the week while they showed up in new designer pieces regularly. But here's what they never bothered to notice about Keisha. She was brilliant. Not just smart but genuinely gifted. While they were worried about who was dating whom and what party was happening that weekend, Keisha was building computers in her spare time, writing code that would make grown programmers weep with envy, and dreaming about a future that extended far beyond the walls of their privileged prep school. I remember one particular incident that really shows you who these people were back then. It was senior year, And Keisha had just won the National Science Bowl for HBCUs with a project that was so advanced it got attention from actual tech companies. Black Enterprise magazine wanted to do a story about academic achievement at their school. You'd think the administration would have been thrilled to showcase their brightest student. Instead, they buried the story. The front page of the school newsletter went to Brittany and her friends for organizing a charity fashion show. Keisha's achievement got a tiny mention on page 3, right next to the cafeteria menu. The message was clear. Some accomplishments mattered more than others, and it had nothing to do with merit. Back to that restaurant in Buckhead, where Brittany is now pulling up the guest list on her tablet. The screen is filled with names, addresses, and little notes about each person's current status. Married to surgeon. Started tech company. 3 kids living in D.C. It's like a catalog of success stories. At least the kind of success these women understand. Okay, let's go through this systematically, Brittany announces. We want people who will appreciate the venue, who will really get what we're trying to do here. They start scrolling through names, making comments about each person. Oh, definitely invite her. She just bought that house in Cascade Hills. Him too, his restaurant chain is doing amazing. What about her? I heard she's a federal judge now. It's less about friendship and more about curating an audience for their performance. Then, about halfway through the list, Tiara pauses. Wait, what about Keisha Thompson? She was in our class, right? The table goes quiet for a moment. Brittany squints at her tablet like she's trying to place the name. Keisha Thompson. Oh right, the scholarship girl. The one who was always studying. Does anyone know what happened to her? Probably teaching somewhere, Jasmine says, but her tone makes it clear she's not particularly interested in the answer. Or working at some tech company. You know how those academic types end up. Brittany's finger hovers over Keisha's name for exactly 3 seconds before moving on. She probably wouldn't fit in anyway, she says with the kind of casual cruelty that these women have perfected over the years. I mean, can you imagine her at a place like the Lake Lanier estate? It would be awkward for everyone. And just like that, with no more thought than you'd give to choosing between 2 types of salad dressing, they decide that Keisha Thompson doesn't deserve an invitation to her own high school reunion. No discussion, no debate, no consideration for the fact that she earned the right to be there just as much as anyone else. What they don't know, what they couldn't possibly imagine as they sit in their perfect restaurant making their perfect plans, is that their casual dismissal is about to come back to haunt them in the most spectacular way possible. 3 weeks after that Buckhead meeting, Brittany's perfect reunion plan hits its first snag. Turns out booking a luxury estate at Lake Lanier isn't as simple as making a restaurant reservation. Every high-end venue she contacts gives her the same polite but firm response. They're fully booked for the dates she wants. Brittany is sitting in her pristine home office, surrounded by printed emails and venue brochures scattered across her mahogany desk like fallen leaves. Her perfect manicure is starting to chip from all the frantic phone calls and keyboard typing. The reunion is only 2 months away, and she's starting to panic. That's when her assistant mentions a property that isn't on the usual rental websites. There's this incredible estate at Lake Lanier, she says, sliding a printed photo across the desk. It's privately owned, so they don't advertise. But I heard through a friend of a friend that they might consider renting for the right event. Brittany picks up the photo, and her eyes literally light up. This isn't just a house. It's a statement. The kind of place that would make everyone understand exactly how successful their little group has become. She can already picture the Instagram posts, the envy-inducing photos, the whispered conversations about how exclusive and expensive it must be. She calls the property management company immediately. A professional woman's voice answers, calm and businesslike. Yes, the estate is available for private events, she confirms. However, the owner is quite selective about bookings. The weekend rate is $18,000, plus additional fees for catering, setup, and security. $18,000. Brittany doesn't even blink. Money has never been a real obstacle for her, especially not when her reputation is on the line. Perfect, she says. When can we schedule a viewing? The following Saturday, Brittany and her committee drive up the winding lakefront road to the estate. Even from the outside gate, you can tell this place is something special. The kind of wealth that doesn't need to show off because it's so obviously there. The property manager, Ms. Patricia, meets them at the entrance. She's professionally dressed, probably in her 50s, with a kind of calm competence that comes from managing high-end properties for demanding clients. "Welcome to Serenity Springs Estate," she says, leading them through the front doors. What they see inside makes Brittany actually gasp out loud. The foyer alone is larger than most people's living rooms, with floor-to-ceiling windows that frame Lake Lanier like a living painting. Marble floors gleam under crystal chandeliers, and every surface looks like it belongs in Architectural Digest. The main house has 10 bedrooms and 12 bathrooms, Ms. Patricia explains as she leads them through room after room of pure luxury. The owner had it completely renovated 4 years ago. Everything you see is custom designed. They walk through a chef's kitchen that looks like it could handle a restaurant service, past a formal dining room with a table that seats 24, and into a living area where the wall of windows slides completely open to blur the line between indoor and outdoor space. But it's when they step onto the back terrace that Brittany knows she's found her venue. The infinity pool seems to spill right into the lake beyond. There's a full outdoor kitchen, multiple seating areas, and a private dock with a yacht moored beside it. It's not just beautiful. It's the kind of beautiful that makes people understand they're in the presence of serious money. "This is perfect," Brittany breathes, already envisioning her guests' reactions. "This is exactly what we need." Shanice is taking photos with her phone, probably already planning her own social media posts. Jasmine is calculating how much this house must be worth, and Tiara and Diamond are just standing there with their mouths slightly open. "The wine cellar can accommodate a tasting event," Ms. Patricia continues, leading them down elegant stairs to a temperature-controlled room that holds hundreds of bottles. And the owner has a collection of vintage champagne that guests often enjoy. Brittany can practically taste the success of this reunion. This isn't just a party venue. It's a statement of arrival, a way to show everyone that she and her friends have made it to a level where they can casually rent a multi-million-dollar estate for a weekend. As they finish the tour and gather in the main living area, Brittany pulls out her checkbook. She's ready to put down a deposit right there on the spot. "This is absolutely perfect," she tells Ms. Patricia. "We'd like to book it for the weekend of September 20th. Ms. Patricia nods and pulls out her tablet to check the calendar. "That date appears to be available," she says. "I'll just need to confirm with the owner before we can finalize anything." "Of course," Brittany says, already imagining the envy on everyone's faces when they see the invitation photos. "When will you be able to confirm?" "I should be able to reach Mrs. Washington by this evening," Ms. Patricia replies casually, still focused on her tablet. She's usually very responsive about booking requests. The name hits the air like a physical thing. Brittany's pen literally stops moving mid-signature. Shanice's phone slips slightly in her hands. The entire group goes completely still. "Washington." Brittany's voice comes out higher than normal. "The owner's name is Washington." "Yes, Mrs. Keisha Washington," Ms. Patricia confirms, looking up from her tablet with mild confusion at the sudden change in atmosphere. She's owned the property for about 6 years now. Lovely woman, very particular about who she allows to use the space. Brittany's face has gone completely white. I'm talking ghost white, like someone just told her that her bank account had been emptied. The checkbook trembles slightly in her hands. Keisha Washington, she repeats slowly, like she's trying to solve a puzzle. What was her maiden name, do you know? Miss Patricia looks a bit puzzled by the question, but she's professional enough to answer. I believe it was Thompson. Keisha Thompson Washington. She kept both names professionally, but socially she goes by Washington now. The silence in that room is deafening. You could hear a pin drop on those marble floors. Shanice actually takes a step backward like she's been physically pushed. Jasmine's mouth falls completely open, and Tiara makes a small sound that might have been a whimper. Because suddenly everything clicks into place. That quiet girl from high school, the one they dismissed so casually just 3 weeks ago, the one they decided wouldn't fit in at their exclusive reunion. She owns this place. This incredible multi-million-dollar estate that Brittany has been dreaming about, that she's been planning to use as the centerpiece of her perfect reunion, belongs to the woman they didn't even bother to invite. Brittany tries to maintain her composure, but I can see her mind racing. How is this possible? How did Keisha Thompson, scholarship girl extraordinaire, end up owning a property that most people can only dream about visiting? Miss Patricia, oblivious to the drama unfolding in front of her, continues flipping through her tablet. I'll give her a call this evening and let her know about your event. She likes to know details about any gatherings, just to make sure they align with her vision for the property. You understand. Brittany nods numbly, but inside she's panicking. Because she's starting to realize that the perfect reunion she's been planning, the exclusive event designed to show off how successful she and her friends have become, might just have been derailed by the one person they thought they could safely ignore. The woman they excluded from their guest list isn't just successful. She's successful enough to own the very venue they desperately need to make their reunion special. And now they need her permission to use it. Before I tell you about the most awkward phone call in reunion history, let me fill you in on what happened to Keisha Thompson after high school. Because while Brittany and her friends were busy planning sorority parties and marrying the right kind of guys, Keisha was quietly building an empire. That full scholarship to Howard University wasn't just for show. Keisha dove into computer science with the kind of focused intensity that only comes from knowing this is your one shot at changing everything. While her former classmates were posting party photos, she was pulling all-nighters in the computer lab, writing code that would eventually power systems used by millions of people. It was during her graduate program that she met Marcus Washington, not at some fancy social event or exclusive party, but in the most ordinary way possible. They were assigned as lab partners for an advanced algorithms course. Marcus came from serious money, the kind of generational wealth that owns media companies instead of just working at them. His family's empire was built on black-owned radio stations and had grown into a $2.8 billion entertainment and technology business. But here's the thing about Marcus that would have surprised Brittany's crowd. He didn't care about the social games they found so important. He was drawn to Keisha's brilliant mind, her genuine passion for technology, and her complete lack of interest in impressing anyone. While other women in their social circle were competing for his attention at charity galas, Keisha was challenging his ideas in research seminars and building better solutions to complex problems. Their relationship developed quietly, away from the spotlight that Marcus's family usually attracted. They worked together, studied together, and fell in love over shared dreams of using technology to bridge the digital divide in underserved communities. When they got married 6 years after graduation, it was a beautiful ceremony at Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, with close friends and family. No society photographers, no magazine spreads. Just two brilliant people who'd found their perfect match. Keisha chose to keep a low profile even after marriage. She could have easily become a fixture on the Atlanta social scene, attending galas where her husband's family was always prominent. Instead, she focused on her own consulting work, helping startups optimize their systems and occasionally teaching advanced courses at Spelman College. The Lake Lanier estate was Marcus's wedding gift to her, a private retreat where she could work without interruption and host the small gatherings of genuine friends she preferred. Back to Brittany, who's been staring at her phone for 3 hours, trying to figure out how to make this call. How do you reach out to someone you haven't spoken to in 15 years? Someone you deliberately excluded from the biggest social event of your adult life. Someone who now holds all the power in a situation you desperately need to control. Finally, she dials the number Ms. Patricia provided. The phone rings twice before a familiar voice answers, though it's more confident now, more assured than the quiet girl from high school. Hello, this is Keisha. Keisha. Hi, it's Brittany Cole from Westside Prep. How are you? Brittany's voice is artificially bright, the kind of fake enthusiasm she uses when she needs something. There's a pause. Not a confused pause, but a knowing one. Hello, Brittany. It's been a long time. Too long. I can't believe it's been 15 years. I heard you own that gorgeous property at Lake Lanier now. Congratulations, that's incredible. Thank you. Keisha's responses are polite but measured. She's not making this easy. Brittany takes a breath and dives in. Actually, that's why I'm calling. We're organizing our 15-year reunion, and we fell in love with your estate. We were hoping to rent it for a weekend in September. Another pause, longer this time. Your reunion, Keisha says slowly. And who exactly is we in this situation? Brittany rattles off the committee names, probably hoping that dropping familiar names will create some kind of connection. But what she doesn't realize is that each name she mentions is just another reminder to Keisha of who was included in the planning and who wasn't. That sounds like a lovely group, Keisha says, and there's something in her tone that makes Brittany nervous. Tell me, how many people are you expecting? Brittany launches into details about the guest list, the catering plans, the decorations. She's trying to make it sound exclusive and impressive, but with every word, she's just highlighting how much thought went into this event and how deliberate Keisha's exclusion was. It sounds like you've put a lot of planning into this, Keisha observes. Very thorough. Very selective. That last word hangs in the air like a challenge. Brittany knows she's been caught, but she can't figure out how to gracefully back out of the corner she's painted herself into. Well, you know how these things go, Brittany says weakly. It's always hard to track everyone down after so many years. Keisha's response is neutral, but somehow that makes it worse than if she'd been angry. Let me think about it, Brittany. I'll get back to you. The line goes dead, leaving Brittany staring at her phone and wondering if she just made the biggest mistake of her social life. For 4 days, Brittany heard nothing. No call, no email, no response at all. Just silence that grew heavier with each passing hour. She probably checked her phone every 5 minutes, wondering if Keisha was just busy or if this was deliberate psychological warfare. Meanwhile, Keisha was sitting in her home office, looking out at the same lake view that Brittany had fallen in love with. She wasn't agonizing over the decision. She wasn't plotting elaborate revenge schemes. She was simply thinking about the girl she used to be and the woman she'd become. She remembered every slight, every exclusion, every time she'd been made to feel like she didn't belong. But she also remembered something else. The relief she'd felt when she finally left that world behind. The freedom of building genuine relationships based on respect and shared interests rather than social status and appearances. Keisha realized she didn't need revenge because she'd already won. She'd built a life filled with love, respect, and meaningful work. She had friends who valued her mind and her character. She had a husband who saw her as an equal partner. She had everything that truly mattered. On Thursday evening, Keisha finally called Brittany back. "I've given your request a lot of thought," she said, her voice calm and professional. "Unfortunately, the estate won't be available for your reunion. I've decided to keep that weekend open for family time with my husband." Brittany's voice cracked slightly. "Is there any other weekend that might work? We're flexible with dates." "I'm afraid not," Keisha replied. "I wish you the best with your reunion, Brittany. I'm sure you'll find somewhere wonderful." And that was it. No drama, no long speech about karma or justice. Just a simple, polite decline that left Brittany scrambling to find an alternative venue 2 months before her reunion. The committee ended up booking a country club ballroom in Buckhead. Nice, but nothing like the lakefront mansion they dreamed of. The reunion happened, people came, photos were posted, but everyone could tell it wasn't quite the exclusive, enviable event Brittany had promised. As for Keisha, she spent that September weekend exactly as she'd planned, quietly with her husband, enjoying the sunset from her infinity pool and feeling grateful for the beautiful life she'd built through her own talent and hard work. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's just living well and having the power to say no. What would you have done in Keisha's position? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story of quiet justice, smash that like button and subscribe for more incredible tales of karma and redemption. And remember, the people who overlook you today might need you tomorrow. Before you go, kindly tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to know who our favorite viewers are. And as the story ends, don't just leave. Share your thoughts with us. What touched you the most? What did you learn? Your voice matters here.